What is going on, everybody, and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as J-Monster. Thank you for joining me for another replay of battle. Today I have another massive 2v2 game done on 1212 AD. There's actually a lot of interesting history that goes into to the concept behind this battle, so we're going to take a look at that in just a moment before we get into the army compositions. But before we do that, let's just take a look here. Look at this sweeping scale of these armies. 1212 is a beautiful mod. It is unfinished at this point, but it is there's a lot of thought and effort and research that has gone into this, and it's a truly impressive sight to see. Probably one of the coolest things to come out for Attila in a very long time that will only be, I wouldn't say superseded, but I would say rivaled by the release of Rise of Mordor. So if you guys have not checked out this mod, I recommend that you do so. It is probably the closest thing we're going to get to Medieval 3 for a very long time. Without any further ado, let's get into the history behind the battle and then into the comps in the battle itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. The Fourth Crusade was a European military expedition whose official goals were the recapture of Jerusalem following an invasion route via Egypt. En route to the Middle East, the Crusader leadership entered into a fateful bargain with the Byzantine Prince Alexios Angelos. Angelos offered Byzantine military aid and financial assistance if the Crusaders would restore his father, Isaac II Angelos, to the imperial throne. Isaac, who was guilty himself of treason against the previous ruling emperor Andronikos Komnenos, was in turn deposed by his older brother after a series of military defeats against the Second Bulgarian Empire. The bulk of Crusader forces arrived at Constantinople by sea, with smaller contingents traveling towards the city of Acre. Crusader forces succeeded, and Alexios was crowned as co-emperor of the Byzantine Empire. This state of affairs was not to last, however, as Alexios was deposed and murdered during a popular uprising. With the death of their patron, the Crusaders were unable to receive their promised support in the Holy Land. The enraged Crusaders decided upon the outright conquest of Constantinople, and in 1204 they brutally sacked the city. For 3 days they looted, pillaged, and terrorized the citizenry of Constantinople. During the sack, many ancient and medieval works of art were carted off or destroyed, notably the bronze horses of the Hippodrome, which were sent back to Venice to adorn the Basilica Cattedrale Patriarcale di San Marco, otherwise known as St. Mark's Basilica, where they still stand to this day. In the aftermath, the Crusaders declared the creation of a new state, the short-lived Latin Empire. This battle takes place after the fall of Constantinople, depicting a skirmish in the Latin-Byzantine War following the Fourth Crusade between the Latin Empire and the Empire of Nicaea. The Empire of Nicaea, in an attempt to regain Constantinople, marched a large force of native Byzantine troops, as well as Cuban mercenaries, towards the city. However, the road is blocked by the Latin Empire, prepared to defend their seat of power along with support from the Venetians, who stand ready to push back the invaders. So that's it for the history. I hope you guys enjoyed that portion of the video and found it edifying. Let's move on now and take a look at the army comps. We're going to start with the Byzantines, move on to their allies, and then we'll switch over, beginning with the Latin Empire, and then move on to the Venetians. So the Byzantines are bringing an heir's bodyguard, which is a very powerful shock cavalry unit. They're a little bit lower numbers, but they generally have higher health since they're intended to be a general's bodyguard. I don't know if this is the actual bodyguard. I don't believe that it is. It would have a little star over the portrait. So they've also got some Latin con. I love the Latin con. If you guys are experienced with Medieval 2 and its expansions, these guys are going to look very, very familiar to you, as they essentially share the same look as the Latin con dismounted and mounted units inside of Medieval 2. He's also bringing in some units of Pronoiaroi, which is not easy for me to say at all. There's some more heavy melee cavalry, not as powerful as on the charges you'd expect from shock cavalry, but nonetheless they are quite good once you get them stuck in. It's also bringing some cataphractoi, because who doesn't love cataphracts? Looking very, very sexy here. You probably noticed that a lot of these are tier 1 units. There's a lot of rules surrounding army compositions in this, namely that it's all going to be tier 1 units with the occasional tier 2 and tier 3 unit that's been thrown in, as long as those tier 2 and tier 3 units have tier 1 stats. Which is a little bit strange that a unit a tier or 2 above some of these would have similar stats, but as I said, this mod isn't finished. There's a little bit of balancing stuff to go on. That is yet to come, I should say. So we've got some more Latin con there, and some more Pronoiaroi. Oh, damn, nailed it. Out in front of them, we've got some Mortatoi. These are really well-armored bowmen, actually. They stand up very well in the skirmish fight. You'll see that in this battle. He's got about 3 or 4 units of them. In the back, he's bringing some Contauratoi pikemen who are pretty. They're pretty good. They're medium pikemen. They can actually stand up to arrow fire for quite a while, and of course they're very, very deadly to any cavalry units that come into range, as well as being a formidable force from the front for infantry. So pikes, very good. They are a little bit vulnerable to missiles, though, so you need to watch out for them. And behind them, we've got some spear militia. I think he's got a couple units of spear militia. These guys, I feel really bad for these guys, and you'll see why later. But they are, of course, a spear militia unit. Not going to get a whole lot of power out of them, but they do make up for that by having numbers and their anti-cavalry bonus. Out here, the main body of the Byzantine infantry consists of 3 lines. We've got some Scutitoi early period in the front lines, probably about 5 or 6 units of them. It's also got some Scutitoi swordsmen in behind them, another very formidable line of about 4 to 5, and finally in behind them we have the Rus mercenaries. These guys are scary. You can usually tell how powerful a unit is or how elite it is by the numbers. So these guys 160, the Scutitoi spears 160, these guys are 120, and they more than make up for the loss in numbers with killing power. I've played against these guys before, and damn are they scary. Moving on now to the I think it's the Cuman Khanate. These guys are actually really interesting. They are part of a confederation. It's the Cumans and the Kipchaks who formed a confederation around 1200. They were actually a major force in Eastern Europe and in the Near East as well, around Constantinople and in Byzantium. So these guys are very, very, very important in world history, and I never knew anything about them up until this point. So it's really cool to be able to learn about them in this battle. But in case they're bringing some Axemen, some medium melee infantry. These guys, I think the biggest draw for them is that they're an acceptable melee infantry, but they also have javelins that they can throw, which makes them a little bit more versatile and adds a lot of killing power. Out front, we've got some Kipchak swordsmen, another Turkish people, fierce nomadic warriors who were, as I mentioned earlier, part of the Kipchak Cuman Confederation. It's got about 2 or 3 units of them. Out in front there, we've got, oh, never mind, that's more Byzantine units. Out in front of them, we've got some Kagan's guardsmen who look really, really cool. This mod is definitely a fan of masked units, and so am I. So it's a beautiful thing to see more of them here on the battlefields. Over here, we got some more Kipchak swordsmen. Out in front, we've got some Bay archers, which is, these archers are totally Bay, absolutely. They've got a good rate of fire, good accuracy, and poor armor. I've actually seen them using shields in this battle, so I think they have an okay shield block chance as well, although the shields may just be cosmetic. But he's got about 2 or 3 units of them. Over here we have some dismounted Uzdens. Don't know a whole lot about these guys. They don't have a great missile block chance. They've got okay range and an okay rate of fire. And if you look down there, you can see that they have access to all kinds of forms of missiles. And the heavy shot is extremely important in this mod. When you play 1212, you're going to want to pay attention to what kind of ammunition your units are using. And they are also able to hide in small grass like this. So you may see them setting up some ambushes later in the battle. In behind them, we got some more Kagan's guardsmen, some Kipchak swords, another couple units of Kagan's guardsmen over here, and we've got more Kipchak swordsmen. So obviously those 2 units make up the bulk of their forces. This looks like a little bit of a, like there was some money left over and they wanted to bring some extra numbers. So I got 2 units here of the spear militia, and now we move on to some of the really, really scary parts of the army. Aside from these Moldavian warriors, who I'm sure are very strong, although I know very little about them, Moldavia is one of the countries that actually integrated Cuman elites into their society, into like kind of the higher ranks of Moldavian society. So that is why they're present on the battlefield. I think it's just to represent the fact that they were involved in the history of Moldavia at one point or another. But moving on to the scary horsemen, we've got some heavy Cossacks, and I assume that the Cumans and the Kipchaks also became part of what would later be the Cossack people, which is why there's a lot of similarity there. Although I don't know if that's for sure. I'm just guessing based on some fairly superficial information. But we've also got some Kagan's Lancers here, some more heavy Cossacks, yet more Kagan's Lancers, and behind them we've got Horse Archers. If you guys have seen some of the previous 1212 battles, you will know that Horse Archers, they win games. No, these are very strong units. In Medieval 2, they're not all that great. You know, Horse Archers, yeah, whatever. These are more like the Rome 1 version of Horse Archers, where they can just decimate cavalry and infantry and other archers, and it's just a nightmare. As you can see, they've got a lot of really nice traits there. One of them is firewalls moving, a Parthian shot which allows them to fire in any direction, not just in front of them. So they're like wood elves in a lot of ways. They're also able to hide, and they are resistant to fatigue. So you can run these guys around all you want. They've also got heavy shot, making them very deadly for heavy infantry, but especially for heavy cavalry, and they've got standard shot as well. And apparently this war cry thing, which I think decreases morale. I don't know, I've never really used it all that much when I played this game. But over here we've got some master horse archers, some heavy horse, and actually 3 units of heavy horse archers and 1 unit of master horse archers. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what the red team is bringing to the battlefield today. We move on now to the Latin Empire, who are probably, in my opinion, one of the coolest looking factions in 1212. I love that deep crimson with that yellow cross. That just makes them look so cool and so distinctive. But in any case, the Latin Empire is bringing 6 units of Chevalier. He's also got some hommes d'armes, a very strong contingent of them, I think to the tune of about 4 or 5. And I assume that they have the French names because this was the Fourth Crusade was largely a Western European undertaking, and France, as far as I know, participated in basically every crusade that happened. So these guys were probably a lot of Frenchmen who are very, very far from home. Moving on over here, we've got some dismounted fratres milites temple, which is, I'm going to make a mistake with that name like 4 times throughout this video, so prepare yourself. Who I assume are to represent some of the crusading orders that would have participated in the Fourth Crusade. They're all rocking that red, very distinctive Templar cross on a white field. In behind, we've got a couple units of fratres milites temple, but a mounted variant of them. And in between them, we've got 2 units here of the pike milice, an early period pike unit. Out in front, we've got a very long line of the foot Turcopoles. I assume that these are Eastern Christians who would have been living in and around Constantinople in the Near East. So we've got about 6 or so units of these guys. They're very good archer units. In behind them, we've got some spear milice and yet more dismounted fratres milites temple. Over here we've got some more spear milice, and I think that's basically it for the Latin Empire, except for this guy right here, the Latin Emperor Henry of Flanders, who was the successor to the first Latin Emperor, being I think like Baldwin the First or something like that, who actually reclaimed a lot of territory lost during the reign of Baldwin, and kind of made the Latin Empire great again for a little while. Moving on now to the city of Venice, who's committed a very large force to this battle. We actually have the Doge of Venice himself, the early period. This bodyguard unit has a lot of health, I think to the tune of about 150 to 170, making them very, very durable. But of course, they are low numbers, and you don't want to get them killed, because in Attila, your general is extremely important. Moving on out here, we've got, a little bit farther over this way, we've got some of the infantry forces sent by Venice. These are the communal swordsmen. There's a lot of these guys. Actually, these are the second line. I think there's about maybe 4 or 5 units, maybe 6 of the communal swordsmen. Out in front, we've got some Excusati Guard. Basically, this entire line is composed of the Excusati Guard, who are looking very, very cool. I love the Pavi shields in this. Always really cool. And they've got they're repping the colors of Venice and things like that. Out in front, we've got some Balistreri. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but they are a crossbow unit, very, very cheap, quite lightly armored, and of course vulnerable to other missile units because they don't have a lot of block chance, or I don't believe armor either, and they've got a lower rate of fire. Over here we've got a couple units of archery. These guys are kind of your standard early bow unit. They've got a decent rate of fire, some good range. Take a look at their stats right there, and a very poor missile block chance. As with most of the archer units in this game, they have a lot of different ammunition choices to choose from. You can see them all down there. And you're going to want to make sure that you pay attention to what kind of ammunition your units are using. Generally, against heavy cavalry or anything that's armored, you're going to want to be using this one right here. You want to use the heavy shot. You want to scare something off the battlefield, or cavalry or elephants or things like that, you're going to be using your flaming shot. Your standard shot is, for the most part, your fastest reloading shot, but it is really only useful against unarmored infantry or unarmored skirmishers and things like that, or light infantry. Finally, in the third line of Venice, we've got some spadaccini, which I assume is related at the root to the word for sword, like the Spanish espadon or the French épée, things like that. These are, of course, a sword and board infantry unit. I think it's got like 3 or 4 units of them, so these are probably something approaching an elite pick for these tier 1 armies. Over here we got yet more Cavalieri. These are essentially the Chevalier, but the Italian version of them. He's got a lot of them as well. I think about 5 or 6 units in total. Moving on over here to their far right wing, we've got the... I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, but it's Lungo Lancieri. They are, of course, a medium pike unit, who pikes in this game, as I think I mentioned earlier, are very, very deadly from the front. You don't want to mess around with these guys. They will kill anything you throw against them, so you want to try and take them down with missiles, if at all possible. But I think that does it for the army composition, so let's go ahead and let's get into the battle itself. And so the Battle of Two Emperors has begun. We've got a Byzantine Emperor on one side, hanging out back here with his Emperor's bodyguard, which I missed in the initial sweep of the army compositions. And of course, we've got the Duke, or rather the Emperor Henry of Flanders, who I'm pretty sure is hanging out right here in the royal purple. But if you take a quick look, you can see that the skirmish fight is beginning here on these two wings. But the blue team's formation is very, very defensive. Both of their wings, in fact, have fallen back. Both over here on the red team's right flank, I think possibly because of the presence of so many pikemen here being brought to bear by the red team has maybe intimidated this force, because you can see that it is largely composed of cavalry, especially on the wing. There's not a lot of infantry to go around. I mean, there's a little bit over here. We've got a couple units of Moldavian warriors backed up by axemen and some Kipchak swordsmen. We've also got some spear militia. I think if it came to blows very early on, that the blue team would definitely be at a big disadvantage in terms of the infantry fight. The cavalry fight, though, it's really anybody's game. They've got a lot of nice melee cav and shock cav here, enough to match what the red team has brought to bear. But over here on the left flank, oh wow, looks like we're actually missing a bit of a cav charge here. Some of the Latincon have charged forward into the foot Turcopoles. Haven't done a whole lot of damage, though. I think they're falling back in response to a counterattack by the red team, who has, this is the Latin Empire, who has brought some of their Chevalier to bear against those Latincon, and they're going to see them off very handily, along with a couple volleys into the rear, which is going to claim the lives of many of those knights. Very unfortunate. Maybe they'll get one more volley off. Let's see. Oh, it looks like with those Latincon not quite finished yet, going to turn around and test the micro of the red team. They really want to target these foot Turcopoles. I think this is probably going to be their strategy to just kind of keep the red team's skirmish line from really being able to do anything. They've got a couple of units of Turcopoles over here and a few more in reserve, or at least not very far off. But so far, the blue team has been able to just fire at them basically unhindered. There's not a lot that the red team can do against this kind of formation. You can see that there's some pikemen very close behind these mortartoi, and any cavalry charge from these guys is going to have enough momentum to carry them through that that archer unit rather, and potentially into the pikemen, which would be disaster for that cav unit. That could potentially cause a rout very quickly. You can see here the red team trying to get themselves set back up again and begin to skirmish with those mortartoi, but they're already at a 20-man disadvantage, nearly a 20-man disadvantage. So things not getting off to a good start here in terms of the skirmish fight for the red team. The blue team has fallen back, but it looks like they're not really ready to give any more ground, and they've been very aggressive with that one unit of Latincon, and so far it has paid off for them. You can see a lot of dead archers here, and only a few dead Latincon in exchange. Looks like these two units of Turcopoles are trying to focus fire down this unit of mortartoi. But as I mentioned earlier, these guys seem to stand up to counter archer fire really well, and they're going to be able to stand their ground against that mass volley fire from the Turcopoles across the field. You can see the mortartoi now moving forward, being a little bit more aggressive. Another unit of mortartoi has been brought to bear, so the red team skirmishers are extremely outnumbered in this fight at this point. As I mentioned earlier, there are some reserves over here in the center, but it doesn't look like the red team really wants to commit those just yet, because of course that'll leave them a little bit thin on the ground in terms of their ranged units on their center line. Oh man, these poor foot Turcopoles. Let's get right in there, right amongst the action. Imagine how it feels to be one of these guys. Fire. Make ready. Yeah, not really a lot of these mortartoi have died. I think, you know what, it looks to me like the red team is actually opting to skip the mortartoi in general and is trying to fire into the Contarioi Red team being very aggressive with their cavalry here. Some chevalier moving forward, actually catching these mortar toy out in the open. They're going to do a lot of damage to them. That definitely makes up for some of the casualties they've inflicted on the red team skirmishers so far. Oh man, those chevalier are just giving them the business. It looks like the blue team is a little bit slow to react, but when they do, it is going to be almost an overcommitment of their cavalry. You can see all of their cavalry being thrown into the center there to drive back those 2 units of chevalier. At the same time, you can see, looks like a charge into those Scudettoid swordsmen. I think the red team's just going to try and cycle charges in and out here and try and wear down some of these non-spear units and look to create an opening in the blue team's lines. Oh, those chevalier better get out of there real quick. They're actually getting run down by infantry. Very slow heavy cavalrymen. Oh wow, they've turned around here. Looks like some of those chevalier decided that they actually wanted a piece of those Latin con. And look at this, they're going to follow them right through. All that cavalry retreating is going to leave those mortar toy out in the open, and they're going to find themselves face to face with another unit of chevalier and be forced to retreat back behind the line of Contaratoi. Yeah, the skirmishers trying to get themselves set up again. Red team doing essentially to the blue team what the blue team was doing to the red earlier, disrupting that skirmish line, inflicting some pretty decent casualties, and now they're trying to take advantage of that by moving some of their skirmishers into the fight to begin to open fire on these lines. I think what they're going to do is just continue to fire these Contaratoi. These Mortartoi are now very close to that front line, so even if they miss and overshoot the Contaratoi, they're still going to hit the skirmishers in the back. Yeah, look at that. Not a lot of damage being done, unfortunately. From what I understand, pike units like the Contaratoi, when they are in formation like this, with all of those pikes all together, it gives them a little bit of a missile defense bonus, so it's not quite so easy to take these guys down for that reason alone. But still, missiles are your best shot at doing so. You can see some light casualties going in there. Slowly but surely, this pike wall is beginning to evaporate under that withering arrow fire. But I don't know how long they're going to be able to keep that up for. Look at this. We've got some routing here. Those foot Turcopoles not having a good time, having lost over half the unit. Now going to begin to retreat. No one's shattered yet, but this unit right here of Turcopoles are close enough to the border and are still taking fire that I think they're not going to be able to reform before they cross that red line. So that might be the last that we see. Yeah, they're going to go right for it. So that is a unit of Turcopoles, a fairly healthy unit. Well, not that healthy, but there's still enough there to make a difference. 42 men in that unit. Looks like they're going to run off the battlefield. Oh no, they reformed just in time, as did their brethren on the other side. But unfortunately for them, the horse archers have been brought to bear. You can see some heavy horsemen now scooting just in range long enough to fire a volley and then pulling themselves back out again. So some really nice skirmish tactics there on the part of the Cuman Khanate. Oh man, these Chevaliers just don't really seem to be able to make a decision. They're kind of just out here taking heavy fire. I think finally they're going to go for this Scudettoid and continue with their strategy from earlier. A beautiful charge here into those Scudettoid. Going to do a lot of damage, but that enfilading fire from the archers I think is going to be enough to inflict a sufficient number of casualties on these guys to potentially get them to rout. They are wavering, and there is the rout. These guys aren't shattered, though, so we may see them reform. And at the same time, oh man, the Turcopoles being driven back yet again. Another advance here from the blue team's horse archers, looking to cause as much chaos as possible. You can see these 2 units of horse archers now opening fire on the pike milice, which is actually going to cause this entire wing to retreat. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why, in my opinion, horse archers in this game are a little bit too strong. 2 units of them is enough to bully an entire wing of infantry, cavalry, and skirmishers out of position. I think that's just a little bit too crazy, and they have to do that because they know exactly what those guys can do to them. Moving on now. Looks like some shattering here. Those foot Turcopoles are finally gone for good. Looks like that unit over here has broken again, but they are now across the red line, so both of those units of Turcopoles have now been taken out of action. Look at this. Look at this no man's land out here in the center. It's just a graveyard of blue team and red team soldiers, although at a glance it appears to be mostly red team. There's a lot of dead knights here, some cavalry and some skirmishers from the blue team, but mostly it's dead foot Turcopoles and cavalrymen for the Latin Empire. But let's move on now to the other end. Not a lot happening here, but it does it does give us an opportunity to view their order of battle. You can see that the red team has set up another really nice encirclement. We've seen this in the past, and it has not worked out for the red team, largely due to them not being able to hold their ground long enough to prevent this flank from collapsing, and then the encircled forces from breaking out and encircling the other team in turn. I want to say at a glance that they've got the troops here to do it. There's a lot of spearmen backed up by archers, backed up by cavalry. They've definitely got the composition, but it's those horse archers, again, who worry me so much. We've seen it time and time again. These guys can pull you out of position, frustrate you, and thwart every effort that you have and every attempt that you make to counter them. I don't know if it's gonna, if the small number of foot skirmishes they have over here is going to be enough to deter some very aggressive skirmishing tactics from those master horse archers and the heavy horse archers backing them up. Moving on over here, it looks like those Turcopoles have some of their brothers have come back and picked up where the others have left off. Now skirmishing, taking a nice bite out of these Kontaratoi, who are now down nearly 50 men in this unit. So they are making some progress, slow though it is. They're actually starting to take down some of the Mortartoi as well. But these guys, this is the first wave of Mortartoi. It looks like they're going to be able to fire their entire payload of missiles. That is how well these guys can stand up to missile fire in a fight. So in terms of longevity, they are definitely a unit to consider if you are playing the Empire of Nicaea. You can see all along the line here, these poor Kontaratoi are just not having a good day. They are definitely public enemy number one for the red team, who wants to take these guys down as quickly as possible. Oh, that poor bastard just got sniped. Shot through the heart. Red team is to blame. Oh, look at that. Some more casualties. It's just relentless. These guys have now lost almost 10 men in the space of a few seconds. Oh, look at this. Blue team looking to test the red team's defenses, and looks like they are going to be able to connect with those Latincon. This is going to be a brutal charge for those Turcopoles. Not what the red team wants to have happen. They can't keep losing the skirmish fight. They've definitely got the numbers to win on this wing, but it's thinning them out elsewhere. All those horse archers moving up to be a nuisance and try and cover the retreat of those Latincon. See, they moved in just long enough to get a couple volleys off, and they are going to claim the lives of many of those Turcopoles and some of the Chevalier as well. Yeah, man, horse archers ain't nothing to screw around with. Looks like a few more volleys is over the lines is actually going to send these Latincon, who are in complete security except for the arrow fire coming in, into a rout. I don't know if we're going to see them. Yeah, they are going to reform. They're very safe. They got their flanks and their rear protected. These guys are going to come back for another go. Over here, these poor Turcopoles are really out of formation. They've just kind of bunched up, very, very blocky. And it looks like the blue team is going to try and take advantage of that, because they're going to be able to move in with that unit of cavalry now. This is essentially a throwaway unit on a suicide mission for glory, but they're going to be able to disrupt this entire line with a single unit. So in terms of like economy of force, the amount of troops it takes to get the job done, this is definitely a win for the blue team. They're going to be able to get in there again. Those Turcopoles going to suffer a frontal charge. Red team just not going to be able to respond fast enough. Over here, another charge from the Pronoiroi. They're going to get into the Turcopoles as well and cause a ridiculous amount of damage. The Venetians going to come in, try and cover their archers, but they are years too late. The damage has been done to the red team skirmish line. Let's slow it down just a little bit. It looks like there's a little bit of action going on over here on the red team. I guess this would be their right wing. Yeah, you can see them slowly getting into positions, just kind of inching forward, tightening the noose on the blue team. There's a couple units of spear militia here in square formation, which is really cool. This is going to give this unit, I believe it gives them a morale boost when they are surrounded, or negates the morale loss from being surrounded entirely. And it gives them some melee defense as well, which is going to allow a spear militia unit like this to hold out for much longer than they otherwise would. So not a bad idea, but they are quite lightly armored, and it's very easy to fire if you're shooting missiles, for example, into the backs or flank of a lot of these units. Only this small area is going to be protected from frontal fire, and I think that the red team is looking to take advantage of that. They've definitely got some tier 3 bowmen here. These free company longbows, nothing to play around with. And they've got them in a good position to begin to soften up the blue team's lines. Moving back over here, another group of reinforcements, in fact, coming in for the foot Turcopole. I think they've basically committed their entire skirmish force to this. Yeah, you can't see any more skirmishers on this portion of the line, especially in the center. So the red team is really just kind of doubling down on their commitment. They want to whittle down this flank, break it, and then rush through at the same time as their allies attack from the other end and try and surround the blue team. If they can manage to do that effectively and efficiently without much loss, then I think the blue team is going to be hard pressed to hold them back. They've got a lot of cav and a lot of follow through in terms of infantry. Look at this big back line of Omdaum. So they've got what it takes. The only thing that is really keeping them back is this line of pikes. These poor Kontoratoi have taken quite a lot of casualties, but disciplined and fearless troops they are. You can see that they've managed to hold the line. Looks like a cavalry charge might have come in here, possibly going after the Murdertoi, but again, as I mentioned earlier, just the momentum carrying them through into those pikes, and looks like there's a few deaths in there. Yeah, more skirmishing, more trying to whittle down these Kontoratoi. Looks like this unit of Murdertoi now on a suicide mission of their own, completely out of ammunition. That, I think, is going to move them forward and just try and disrupt the line yet again. Red team's not having any of that, though. Charging now into the Murdertoi, thinking better of it. This unit, though, is going to go for it. They're going to go right through, right into the pikes. That is devastating. Very, very, oh, man, just getting way too close. Heavy losses here for the red team Chevalier. They are going to be forced now to flee in the face of their very foolish maneuver here. Another volley from the Murdertoi is going to be enough, I think, to break these guys and see them off. And it looks like they are, in fact, shattered. Yeah, that's going to be the end of that Chevalier unit. I really don't think it was worth it. Those Murdertoi now still free to move forward and do what they had planned originally. Very nice bait and switch on the part of the blue team. Well done. Yeah, so they are going to be able to get in there with those Murdertoi, disrupt the Turcopoles, inflict some light casualties. Red team's going to respond with another unit, very healthy unit, in fact, of Chevalier. At the same time, Venice moving forward. Hungary, looking to get a piece, I think. Oh, that Spear Militia. Definitely the weakest point in the blue team's line. Let's see how this works out for them. Oh, devastation! Just sweeping that unit underfoot, trampling them into the dust. You can see blue team now is going to have to rush in there. There's some Kontoratoi as well, who I think are going to be very useful in repelling that unit of Cavalieri. At the same time, red team coming in with another cycle charge, looking to get a piece, I think, of those Scututoi swordsmen. They are going to get hooked on those Kontoratoi, which is going to be very, very bad for them. Red team has suffered quite grievously at the hands of the blue team's pikes. Oh man, those Kontoratoi, though, they are wavering. Could we see a rout? That would be a big hole in the blue team's lines. No, it doesn't look like it. It looks like they managed to kind of stabilize their morale. Kontoratoi now moving forward to take points. Red team's not going to let them get into position, though. Big charge here from the Chevalier. Oh, just sweeping that pike line away. I think that's going to be enough. I think that's going to do it right there. Yes it is. We've routed those Kontoratoi now. The red team has suffered heavily to accomplish that goal, but they have finally done it. This unit of Chevalier, having accomplished their goal, now going to flee out of there, broken because of the casualties they've taken. But that is going to leave the red team basically free to hammer that part of the line. There's a section of those pikes now missing alongside that unit of Spear Militia. So that really just leaves the Scututoi swordsmen to try and hold out against the cavalry. And it looks like the Cavalieri going to follow it up with another big charge. Not as devastating as the last one, but still painful. Blue team's going to throw in some cavalry of their own, but there is some friendly fire coming in from their Murdertoi archers in the back. That is... it's a fairly even exchange, but you can see that those Scututoi have really taken a lot of casualties. Now down to 92 out of 116, that unit nearly down to half strength. Another cycle charge coming in from the red team. They are just relentless, just hammering these blue team lines. And I think that even with the presence of these Pronoioroi, they are really going to struggle to hold back this very aggressive tide of red team cavalry. We're going to move out of that just a little bit. Take a look at what's happening over here. It looks like a couple stranded units of communal spearmen just kind of hanging out on their own. This This is a problem. This could spell disaster if they leave a gap in their lines. There's a lot of blue team cavalry over here, and those horse archers, always a looming, ever-present threat. They get in behind the red team lines. I don't know what red team is going to be able to do to stop them. But perhaps that's a story for a little bit later. Let's move back over. You can see that red team now moving in with more of their Turcopoles. They're very battered regiments of Turcopoles who have just had a really difficult time. A charge here from the blue team cavalry, in fact. Looks like some Prenoiroi got a piece of those foot Turcopoles, and that actually, they routed them. They are broken. Oh man, the poor red team. Let's go ahead and let's slow that down just a little bit. Just look at this. The body count is just piling high, and most of them are red team. This has been a really difficult uphill battle for the forces of the Latin Empire and Venice. But honestly, they've done really well, and they've inflicted some serious casualties on the infantry line for the blue team. Where you can see some Kontaratoi trying to pull themselves out of there, just being shot up by the Turcopoles. I don't think the blue team has a lot of skirmishers really left with any ammunition, so it looks like, oh yeah, they're going to have to fall back on those horse archers. But those horse archers themselves are getting low on ammo, and once they're out of ammo, they're really just middling kind of cavalry at best. Definitely easy prey, I think, for those heavy knights. Of course, they have to run out of ammunition first, and these poor Cavalieri having a very bad day. They're just taking some shots to the rear from those horse archers. They're now going to turn around and charge. Again, suicide mission, looking for glory. Looks like they're going to go right for that infantry line. Of course they are. Those horse archers are going to try and pull themselves out of there. If they're not swift enough, though, they might get caught up in that charge. They are going to escape. But boom, another charge going into the Scudatoi here. Very nice. Even with that small amount of cavalry, they've done a lot of damage to those Scudatoi. Look at that, 20 men going down in a charge from an understrength unit of knights. And these are spearmen formed up and braced. Although I think a lot of it has to do with some of the friendly fire coming in from those horse archers. Trying to hit those knights, they're actually firing into the rear of their own Scudatoi. Nearly 30 men died at the cost of less than 23 knights. Honestly, it's a reasonable exchange for a unit that was so understrength that it wasn't going to have a whole lot of use. Oh, look at this. These aimless horses without their riders just kind of running around, fleeing. It looks like there's some action over here. The line's getting a little bit closer. Yeah, some of these horse archers, some of them down to about half ammunition. Others have full ammo and have yet to be tested in battle. But they are starting to get a little bit of early skirmish fire into the lines of these communal spearmen. These communal spearmen, though, formed up ready with those massive shields in shield wall formation to protect themselves. They're going to be able to withstand that, I think, for quite some time. There's some serious gaps, though, in the red team lines. They're trying to fill it by spreading out some more of their spearmen. These are the Excusati Guard. We're trying to plug that gap, and I think they've done a reasonable job of it. It looks like now is the time for red team's assault on this flank. Oh wow, looks like some early infantry action over here. Definitely going in favor of the red team's communal swordsmen, just devastating their infantry counterparts on the side of the Byzantines and their Cuman allies. What do we got going on over here? I can't tell who's fighting who. It looks like there's like one or two communal swordsmen in there just holding the line. Look at these guys just kind of shuffle rapidly across the battlefield. That's really strange to watch. We're going to go ahead and we're going to slow it down over here. But if you look at this, there's not... if they can occupy the infantry here long enough, they should be able to exploit some of the gaps in the lines, get into these dismounted Uzden, and do a lot of damage to the blue team's skirmish line. Of course, they need to be careful because there's a lot of horse archers over here, 4 units of horse archers, and some heavy cav. But I think that's probably... for the cost of 1 unit of cavalry, that could definitely be a useful application. Looks like we got some Cataphractoi charging headlong into the lines of the Spadaccini, and I think that's the Excusati Guard as well. That is not a fight that's going to go well for the Cataphractoi. Maybe they'll take some of them down, but I think it's going to be very... it's going to be a short time before they are overwhelmed. Let's move back over here. Things still kind of locked in a stalemate. Red team has committed more and more cavalry. Most of their foot Turcopoles, I think, are gone at this point. You can see them just dead all over the battlefield. Those very brave warriors from Constantinople have definitely given their all in this battlefield today. Blue team, though, looking a little bit exhausted. Most of the line here very battered. A lot of casualties have been caused because of the constant aggressive cycle charging by the Cavalieri. You don't see a lot of cycle charging in this mod, and it's great to see it being used to such great effect here. I think that's because in Attila, when units retreat from combat, they get a lot of debuffs in terms of their melee defense, similar to how Rome 2 rather was shortly after it released. So it's very easy to get a unit killed trying to pull them out of combat, but and yeah, for that reason people don't tend to use it. But here it's being used to great effect. Oh, brutal charge into the front of those Scudetoi. Those Chevalier rather are going to just wheel out and circle back and come back in, just battering this line. This part, these Scudetoi swordsmen are actually thinking about wavering, and they are going to rout. Look at that. Definitely paying off here. Lost a couple Chevalier in that charge, but routed a unit of Scudetoi and killed many more of them. This thin line now being overwhelmed by that devastating charge from those knights. I think red team is going to be able to accomplish the goals that they have set for themselves here and break this blue team wing. Let's move out here, slow down just a little bit, and get right in on the action. It looks like blue team is managing, because of how bunched up some of these units are, and how some of these units are hanging back, they are actually managing to surround the red team infantry and really kind of give it to them. Yeah, look at this big charge coming in. It looks like some of these axemen, down to half strength, going to move in and engage these reserve units of Spadaccini. You can see some Excusati Guard getting into position to absorb a charge from some dismounted Uzden, who look like they're out of ammunition. That's not going to go very well for the archer unit, but they may just be there to kind of fatigue these guys, or may be a micro mistake, in fact. Yeah, it looks like those Uzden have actually got a little bit ahead of themselves. You can see a general charge now from the forces of Venice looking to exploit that misstep. Big charge from the Cavalieri going into the Axemen. Those Axemen are not going to be able to hold on long, not with the infantry support that Cavalieri unit has. Over on this end, the red team trap rather has been sprung. You can see the force of the blue team being overlapped just about everywhere. They need to reinforce this portion of the line, though. Make sure that the blue team is not allowed to break out. If they break out anywhere along this encirclement, things could very rapidly turn around in favor of the blue team. Moving back down here, another big charge. These guys just keep going. Look at the damage they have done to the Scudetoi. They've just opened a massive gap in the blue team's line that really, it doesn't look like they have a lot to fill it in with. They do have some reserves over here, so they may mobilize those soon. I think they're going to have to. And they've also got a unit of Latincon here that's chasing down those Chevalier, looking maybe to use their numbers. I don't know if the Latincon are really up to the challenge of fighting these Chevalier. Not too sure about the stats between the two units. So they're going to fall back. But so far, the hesitancy of the Latincon to engage the Chevalier head-on has made me think that perhaps the Chevalier do in fact outclass them in a straight fight. Oh man, these poor Chevalier I think have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew. And they're going to try and fall back, getting out of there after another cycle charge into the other portion of the line. I don't think that was the best idea by the Latin Empire. At this point, they have created a gap in the line, and they could rush through it with some of their infantry and really leverage that. But I guess they wanted to maybe get some of these blue team reserves out of the way, or they were afraid of being encircled, which I think is fair enough. The blue team now, speaking of reserves, is now mobilizing them, looking to fill in this gap in the line. You got another 3 units here. These are the Rus mercenaries. As I mentioned, these guys are scary and nothing to play around with. So the elite pick for the Byzantines has now been mobilized. Let's move back over here to the other end. It looks like things are going pretty swimmingly for the forces of the Latin Empire and Venice. They're doing a lot of damage to this poor unit of heavy Cossacks over along the line. Looks like they're about to rout another couple units here from the blue team. Over here, though, they're having some problems in this is kind of like their center line. The blue team has mobilized their reinforcements and are now beginning to beat back the red team. This is what I was talking about earlier. with this kind of application of force, they may be able to break through, stop the encirclement, and then bring to bear their units in a flanking attack that's going to turn the tide of these other more isolated fights. And you can see some more reserves being mobilized. Got some Kipchak swordsmen moving in to help their brothers. Looks like these communal swordsmen are doing really well, and that's going to be the target of the Kipchak swordsmen. You can see them moving in for a nice flanking charge into these communal swordsmen, who are not going to have an answer to it. Oh, no, they stopped, and now they're going for the charge. Boom, a big impact there. Not as big as I would have thought, but those communal swordsmen, I think, are going to be in a lot of trouble. And you can see they are definitely outnumbered now. We've got 2 units bearing down against this 1 unit of light infantry. I don't think it's going to go very well for them. Over here, this unit of communal swordsmen is really struggling against the Kipchaks. Elsewhere on the line, things going, I guess, okay for the red team. But over here, you can see another losing fight. A lot of losing fights, in fact. These communal swordsmen being beaten back by the Kipchaks, who really seem to have their number. The Kipchak seems like a nice counter to this Tier 2 light infantry unit. Oh man, they're really just taking a beating from the archers and from those Kipchaks. Over here we can see some rear fire going into a unit of Excusati Guard. I don't think the red team realizes exactly what's happening to this unit, and now they are fleeing off the battlefield. They do have some more Excusati just in case the blue team manages to break through, but so far things are pretty even. Let's take a look here all the way down the line. Things relatively even. It looks like there's a unit here of the Cavalieri that managed to either break through the flank here or attacked from the rear. I think it's probably closer to being attacked from the rear. Those horse archers going to move in, drive back that Cavalieri. We're going to flee in the face of the overwhelming presence of mounted skirmishers. Over here, these Scudetoi, they're doing okay. The Fratres Milites Templi seem to be holding their ground and are actually beating back the Scudetoi. These Scudetoi now shaken, wondering if maybe it's time to go home. Also, the infantry fight seems to be pretty even. Oh man, these pikes over here, these pike milice, just giving it to these Rus mercenaries. They're really struggling. As I said, even militia pikes can do a lot of damage. Oh, somebody just got decapitated. I don't know if you guys saw that. Yeah, let's get right in there amongst the action. And if you look at this map here, it's like this, almost like a candy cane or a hook. You can see that the red team is trying really hard to encircle them. They are winning at certain points along the line, but I think over on the other wing, they are actually being beaten back by the sudden mobilization of the blue team's reserves. You see a lot of routing here for the red team and a lot of very battered units. Another fresh unit of axemen moving in, oh man, these poor Lungo Lancieri. They are actually getting caught out of formation, attacked in the flank. The red team's going to try and pull them out, reform them in a straight fight. They can beat those axemen, but the axemen are just cutting them down left and right at this point. Let's move a little bit back over here to my favorite part of the battle. You can see a big cavalry fight. Some of the Fratres Milites Templi fighting hard against the Prenoiroi, and looks like some more Prenoiroi being thrown into the battle now as well. So there's like 3 units of Prenoiroi backed up by some Rus mercenaries against a single unit of Fratres Milites Templi. They are having a very bad day. Got some pike milice freshly back, it looks like, from routing, moving in to try and support that isolated cavalry unit, but I don't think it's going to be enough at this point. See a unit of Cavalieri coming in, trying to get a nice flank charge into those Rus mercenaries. They are going to connect. Oh, that was beautiful. Those Rus mercenaries are going to take a lot of damage with that sudden assault. Got more pike milice moving in, but some of them are actually routing. They're not having a good time. These guys, I think, are not going to be able to stand around for very long, too. Not with all of these dismounted Fratres Milites Templi who are now running, and looks like the rest of the line is going to begin to fall apart. So I think the blue team has managed to break through here, and they're still standing strong. Look at this. Look at these Rus mercenaries, only having lost about 6 men in that unit. These Scudetoi swordsmen, no doubt hungry for revenge because of the damage the Latin Empire has done to them with those cycle charges. Yeah, blue team now mobilizing their troops for an offensive. Over here in the center, red team being beaten back. It looks like blue team might have this in the bag. Over here, oh man, these poor Murdertoi just getting the business by these dismounted Fratres Milites Templi. Also, it looks like the red team's really struggling hard against some of these blue team spearmen. These Scudetoi holding their own against this massive concentrated assault from Hommes d'Armes and Spear Milice. Mortar toys, I think they still have a little bit of ammo. Yeah, just being a complete pain for the forces of the red team. I think a lot of this has to do with how many of their turret poles they had to expend to break that flank. We're going to go back over to that flank in a second. Looks like red... Ooh, a little bit of lag there. Red team has managed to come out on top over in this end. They have one on the flank for the most part, except in this area over here, where this poor unit of Cavalieri is just being squeezed in between a couple units of swordsmen. You got one unit of Kipchaks here, and another unit of Moldavian warriors pressing them hard. Looks like the Doge of Venice mobilizing for a rear charge against these Kagan's guardsmen. That is going to be enough to shatter them and send them running off the battlefield. These Kipchak swordsmen now in danger of being overwhelmed. They've got some more of their Kipchak brothers nearby, so they may be able to hold out. But if the Doge of Venice manages to get in behind them, who knows what could happen. Also, these Excusati now freshly reformed over near their general. They may be able to hold the line. They need to be turned around though, because they are taking some fire from the rear. If they continue to take heavy casualties like this, they are going to start to rout again. Oh man, these Kipchaks being beaten back now. A final stand by these Camille swordsmen, somehow managing to pull things back from the brink despite being outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Charge here from the Excusati guard, finally having turned around, moving in to protect the flank of those Camille swordsmen. But unfortunately, these guys are close enough that they are going to rout those Camille swordsmen. In fact, they are shattered, now gone off the battlefield. Same with these Excusati guard. These guys are broken again. Things not looking great for the red team at this point. Still in the center line, things going all right, but it looks like the Byzantines have come in from behind with a couple units of Prenoiroi getting into the back of this Latin Empire infantry blob. That is going to cause a lot of problems, especially for this Spear Milice, who is shaken. If they rout, they could potentially cause a chain rout that will evaporate the red team's center. They are wavering. Looks like we got some routing, some Omdam, actually the first to run. The Spear Milice, they are just holding on. Look at that. Militia unit holding out while 2 units of regulars are fleeing off the battlefield. This is a devastating loss for the Latin Empire. You can see just how much of their infantry has now fled from that fight. Hundreds of men that could be very, very useful in the center line now fleeing for their lives. And those Spear Milice still holding out. Brave warriors, everyone. Over here, these dismounted Fratres Milites Templae beating back the Scudetoi. These guys are exhausted, losing their fight. They could begin to rout here very, very soon. Over here on this flank, though, the fight has all but been decided. The blue team has been the decisive victory over here on the red team's left. They're now surrounding what remains of the dismounted Fratres Milites Templae. Most resistance has been swept away. Just look at this. Look at the carnage that these two sides inflicted on one another. Elsewhere, there's one unit of mounted Fratres Milites Templae, very isolated, not a lot left from the red team on this end. They have now been routed by a combined arms approach. We got some horse archers now out of ammunition, being backed up by a couple units of Rus mercenaries. Very unfortunate. These Omdam, they're charging into battle, but I think it's going to be a little bit too late. And because of these routing units, they are going to now flee off the battlefield. These 2 units... actually, no, this one is shattered. This one is just routing, but I think they're going to be able to run off the field before they reform. So at a glance here, things not looking good for the red team. I think that the blue team definitely has this one in the bag. Oh, man, look at this. These poor Templars, they have no idea what's coming for them. Look at that. Look at the hordes of Byzantines pouring in, eager to avenge the sack of Constantinople. Oh, and those red team forces are just having none of it. Spear Milice now finally fleeing. Dismounted Fratres Milites Templae, the last men on the field with the courage to fight. You can see a lot of shattering here. Oh man, this unit of Spear Milice, they've still got the stomach to fight on against these Scudetoi, but I think that's going to be it. They are shattered, and that is going to be a Pyrrhic victory for the forces of the Empire of Nicaea and their Cuman allies. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at some of the casualties now. Let's start with the, I believe it was mostly Venice versus the Cumans, so that's probably a good place to start. The Cumans, some of their Kagan's guardsmen, some of their spearmen really didn't do all that well. I think their most potent units were their axemen and these Kipchak swordsmen. Time and time again, we saw these guys beating back tier 2 units of communal swords. That is very impressive. Obviously, these guys have something to them, some kind of hard iron in their souls that makes them such effective warriors. Their skirmish units just did so much work. The Bay archers definitely doing more than their share, alongside the dismounted Uzdins, who just took so many of the enemy with them. Kagan's Lancers and the cavalry in general doing okay. The Kagan's Lancers did the best. These heavy Cossacks, however, didn't do all that well. 3 units of heavy horse archers got a lot of work done, as they do. Moving over to the side of Venice, the Doge of Venice cutting down 147 men with his 50-man bodyguard. That is very impressive. That is a 3-to-1 casualty rate. Very impressive on the part of that leading figure. Elsewhere, their swordsmen, especially the Ex-Crusade Guard, 4 kills on this unit. Very sad. Some of the units did a little bit better. I think these were the ones that were supported or supporting other units of infantry. Their pikes, like the Lungo Lancieri, we saw them being really out of formation in a couple areas, and I think that's why we're not seeing a whole lot of kills here. The pikes can do a ton of work. 82 kills is pretty good, but I honestly think that the pikes can do a little bit better than that. Communal swordsmen doing all right for the most part. A lot of 3-figure kills there, but this unit, look at that, 300 kills in that unit of communal swordsmen. I think they actually gained like 2 chevrons during the course of that battle, which is very impressive. Spadaccini, kind of more of an elite pick. I'm a little bit disappointed with that. I would have expected, their kills to be at least in the hundreds, but I suppose they did their best. The infantry fight really seemed to be quite hard on Venice in that battle. Elsewhere, the archery doing pretty well. 3 units of Free Company longbowmen. These guys were tier 3 archers. Of course, they're going to get 3-figure kills. All these balistreri, though, I don't know what happened, but they just did not pull their weight at all. 0 and 15. Very unfortunate. The Cavalieri, some of them getting some really nice kills. This one here now has a silver chevron. This one getting 138, equally as impressive. Some of the other units, I think, struggled a little bit, maybe in the center line, probably, these lower kills. But on the flanks, the cavalry was definitely very aggressive and very effective at whittling down the Byzantine lines. But they just took so many casualties in the attempt. Moving on down here to the pairing of the hour, the Latin Empire versus the Byzantines. We're going to start with the Byzantines, of course. Emperor's bodyguard didn't even get involved in battle, didn't have to. 0 kills there. He was content to watch from his hilltop fortress as his armies swept away their hated rivals. Spear militia just getting absolutely flattened. We saw it on that flank. They just got swept away by a couple of cycle charges from the Latin Empire and the Venetians. Scudettori doing pretty well. I think these 2 units here are probably from the middle, where they managed to hold out for a very long time against the Latin infantry. The Contaratori did a lot of damage, and a lot of that is cavalry. We saw some cavalry impale themselves multiple times on the ends of their pikes. Very impressive. Over here we got some Scudettori, who they did really well, except for these 2 units here. A lot of 3-figure kill counts. Down here, the Rus mercenaries. There's actually quite a lot of them. I thought there was less than there were, but these Rus mercenaries just did absolute work. Down here, the Murdertoi. We saw how well the Murdertoi did, and of course, they've got these impressive kill figures. Look at that, 283 on that archer unit, and they barely even took any casualties in return. I don't know where these guys were on the line, but they were very, very well used. Over here, the Latin Con getting mostly harassment kills on the foot Turcopoles. Cataphractoi doing their best, and this Heir's bodyguard unit not really living up to their reputation as an elite tier 1 cavalry unit. Over here, the forces of the Latin Empire, they did not do well at all. The Down really struggled, I think, especially in that center line. 4-11, 11-18, 5. That is very unfortunate. The dismounted Fratres Militares Templi, though, definitely pulled their weight. Look at that, 199, 69, 86. These guys didn't do quite so well, but I think they got surrounded. Over here, the foot Turcopoles, they definitely were very spirited fighters in this battle. They got a lot of skirmisher kills, and I think some infantry kills from on the Contaratori, and the odd cavalry kill here and there. The Chevalier, though, we saw them being very aggressive. These must be the ones that were deployed on the flank alongside, I think, this 80-kill one here. They got a lot of work done for their army, and so did these Fratres Militares Templi, so a lot of the kills really seem to be located in their cavalry, and I thought that the Latin Empire did a very good job with their cavalry. There was a few little micro mistakes, but you know what, that happens to everybody. They really did their best to break down that blue team flank, but by the time they did it, they just didn't have the follow-through, and they just didn't have the infantry to beat back the forces of Byzantium. But that's going to be it for the battle. I hope you guys enjoyed. I've been trying to up the production value on the videos, so you're going to be seeing a lot more editing, a lot more kind of shiny stuff, I suppose, and a lot more detail and things like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the new format. If you have any feedback on it, by all means, please let me know down in the comment section. But yeah, that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.